श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः। हरि ओम्। क्रतुण्डमहाकाय सूर्यकोटिसमप्रभा निर्विघ्नं कुरु मे देव सर्वकार्येषु सर्वदा। गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुः साक्षात् परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। या वर्णपदवाक्यार्थगद्यबद्धस्वरूपिणी वाची नर्तेत क्षिप्रं मेदां देवी सरस्वती। नमामि गोविन्दं पादारविन्दं सदेन्द्रा वन्दितम् उत्तमाढ्यं जगज्जननां हृदि सन्निविष्टं महाजनैकायनम् उत्तमोत्तमं वेदेभ्य उद्धृत्य समस्तधर्मान्योऽयं पुराणेषु जगदादेवः व्यासस्वरूपेण जगद्धाय वन्दे तं एतं कमलासमेतं नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करम्। Namaskar. So, welcome everyone to this Pravachana, 3 days Pravachana series on Dīpāvalī, Dīpāvalī rituals and significance of Dīpāvalī. Dīpāvalī, as commonly known these days as Diwali, is one of our major festivals for everybody, and not just those who follow Sanatana Dharma, but for in many other branches of Sanatana Dharma as well, those who are called these days with their own religion names, their own matas. So it's celebrated by many. So when anyone asks what a festival is about, normally in our Sanatana Dharma, whatever we say, whatever the festival, what is this festival about? Our standard response is victory of good over evil, right? This is some sort of standard statement we say. What is this festival? It is victory of good over evil. So, and what is Dīpāvalī? Dīpāvalī is slightly different. We say it's festival of light, bringing brightness into our lives, removing darkness. So the question comes, what is light? What is darkness? What are we doing here as part of this festival that is going to remove that darkness? What is that's going to give you that light? Is it about cooking tasty food, or these days rather buy lots of laddus and sweet from the sweet shops, or eating a lot of sweets without worrying about anything? Or is it wearing new clothes or having a party, Diwali parties, okay, with music, loud music from the movies, your favorite movies, dancing to that, performing maybe Lakshmi Puja, lighting candles. I'm saying candles because these days the Deepas, lamps as in oil or ghee, those with wicks, normally that's kind of become old fashioned. We talk about these days as Diwali candles, the wax based candles. So anything like that, or even burning fireworks. So which of these is giving us light? Which of this is removing the darkness? Why this is festival of lights? So that's the question. Now we know, okay, generally when we say light means it is compared to knowledge. Darkness means ajnana, ignorance, right? But eating laddus or doing Lakshmi Puja or wearing new clothes or having a Diwali parties, Deepavali parties, okay, these with loud music and things, is that going to give us the knowledge? What is going to give us the knowledge? Where is this knowledge coming from? What is this celebration is about? So first of all, what is this knowledge, right? So all these questions we need to look. So again, darkness is a symbol of ajnana, avidya, ignorance. Ignorance of what? Ignorance of Brahman. thinking that this world, this prapancha is the real thing, and the thought like this body is real. That is avidya. And light symbolizes the knowledge of Atma, that Paramatma, and Jivatma, the knowledge that Atma Jnana, it is the realization that Jivatma and Paramatma are one and the same, and that Paramatma is Nitya, Nirguna, Nirakaya, Nishkriya, Avyaya, Anadi, Avinashi, Anantam, Sanatana, Satyam, Jnana, Anantam, all this, right? So adjectives we use to describe that Paramatma, Brahman, as said in the Vedas, Vedangas, Upanishads, is Brahman. So that Brahman, so the knowledge of that Brahman, the light symbolizes that. Now, that's why knowledge is here is Atma Jnana, the knowledge of that self, knowledge of Atma. As Upanishad says, knowing one, that one knows everything. So that one knowledge, that one's knowledge, that self-knowledge, that Atma Jnana, that realization of that is the knowledge. And after knowing that, there is nothing else to know. So how do we get that? How do we achieve that knowledge? So Bhagavad Gita, we keep looking, right? So in the Gita Shastra sessions, Yavanartha Udapane. So that shloka where Krishna says that when there is flood all around, why do we look for a small bucket of water or a tank or a pond or even a lake? Why do we look for that when there is flood everywhere, right? So just like that, when that Atma Jnana is realized, there is no other Jnana, there is nothing else to be realized. So how do we get that? Atma Jnana is through Chitta Shuddhi, purification of mind. So when mind is purified by performing the karmas, as said in the Shastras, as said in the Shrutis, as said in the Smritis, in the scriptures, as said in that, when we perform those karmas according to our Varnashrama, then it results in Chitta Shuddhi. That leads to Jnana. So now there are many paths in Shastras as well. So different ways Shastras allows, because there is no single path that suits everybody. We are all different, right? So we are all different. Our thought process is different. Our circumstances may be different. Our birth, the way we brought up, or the way we live, everything is probably different. So festivals is one of such ways where we celebrate these festivals we have. They are one such way where we do perform those karmas as said in the Shastras, where we, through the Puranas, through the stories, these festivals tell us a story. And we celebrate the event related to that story. Through the process, we engage ourselves, our senses, our organs, our mind, buddhi, intellect, whatever. So all that in that Brahman, in that thought, we engage that. Hence, it is important to celebrate the festivals. And through learning, hearing, and recollecting those things, what has been heard, and always thinking about that Paramatma, thinking about that Paramatma, we can attain Chitta Shuddhi. Again, mind has to be concentrated in that. So that's very difficult for us, right? So this again, karmas, that's where the karmas come in. The rituals and everything we perform is to lead to that state where we can have a steady mind, where we can focus 5 minutes, let's say. Even 5 minutes for us is very difficult, right? Let's try 5 minutes, and within 5 minutes, we probably would have gone wherever we were. Even the things after 5 minutes, if you think, why was I thinking about those things, right? It's very difficult for us. That's why all these festivals is one of the means, right? So it is one of the ways which tells us, okay, this is what you should be doing. This is what you should be doing. This is your duty. This is what your karma should be focusing on. So that's why we should celebrate the festivals, and by knowing what that festival is about, why we perform, how we perform, again, we can make that festival celebration meaningful. Festivals are not just about good food and entertainment. Obviously, it is. Okay, it is a part as well. I'm not denying that. Okay, good food and entertainment are part of that, but ultimately, it has to lead to something that takes us towards that path, towards that moksha, that attaining that jnana, that knowledge. So any festival we take, Janmashtami, we take Krishna Janmashtami. All the celebration is fine, but at some point we have to be thinking about that Krishna's teachings, Krishna's message, what Krishna said us, what Krishna told us. That's what we should be in the back of that. When we celebrate Ganesh Chaturthi, understand the obstacles within us into that path of that attaining that knowledge. What obstacles I create from morning today, instead of focusing doing that, I could have done this. When I was doing this japa or whatever, bhajan or whatever it is, I was thinking about doing something else. Why I did that? All those little things that comes as obstacles. I mean, obstacles doesn't have to be something physical that's coming, right? So when Ganesh Chaturthi, when we say Ganesha prayer, it is that. So if we don't know the reasons behind these festivals, and most importantly, the real meaning behind those celebrations, it becomes very useless exercise. It is just entertainment of the organs and senses. Otherwise, those festivals do not have any other meaning or anything benefit coming out of it. Purely pleasure related. It should not be that. If you take, for example, Ganesh Chaturthi, okay, the story goes, okay, Parvati made a Ganesha from her the dirt in her body, and then she put her as a doorkeeper. Shiva came, removed his head, and then elephant's head was attached, and so on. Ganesh Chaturthi, normal story, right? One festival. Now, if one asks deep meaning behind that, anybody can explain? Why did Parvati have so much dirt on her body? She could make a baby out of it, right? And when she placed him on the doorkeeper role, if Shiva is the one who knows everything, everywhere, then did he not know that Parvati has now made a son before killing him? And if they have killed and removed his head, why not put the same head back? Why another elephant killed? There are so many questions we can ask through any of these stories. Okay, whether it is Janmashtami or Dīpāvalī or any of this, but ultimately, what it is telling is there are Puranas ways of narrating things which brings us our attention to something. Okay, and that something is ultimately leads to that knowledge. It is not that story itself is important. Where it is taking us is the important. Okay, we say Indra did this, Indra did this. Okay, and so what is Indra? If you compare this body of Indra, all the organs, Indriyas, he is the owner. So if you control that Indra, he is the ruler. If he is in good shape, everything is fine. If you control that. Everything that says in the Purana, you can apply it to ourselves. All the Daityas, Rakshasas, whatever we call Asuras, all that within ourselves. There is a good path, there is a bad path. One that leads to moksha, another one that leads to rebirth, samsara. So Ganesha story again. So we can ask many things, okay? So there are various different ways of that same story is said. Say, for example, if you go Lalita Upakhyanas, the completely different ways of Ganesha's birth comes. You probably heard in Lalita Sahasranama as well, Kameshwara Mukhala Kalpita Shri Ganeshwara. So Lalita Devi, she just looked at Parameshwara, Mukhaloka Kalpita Shri Ganeshwara. So when she looked at Parameshwara, the Kameshwara, she looked at Shiva. At that time, Ganeshwara, he was created in that battle with Bandasura. Lalita Devi was battling with Bandasura. So again, it is not the important how Ganesha was created. The importance is why Ganeshas we worship. What do we do? The obstacles we have in our path to attaining going in that journey. That's the importance. The obstacles are not real life obstacles. Okay, I want to go tomorrow to do something and I'm going to have all these challenges coming through. That is laukika issues or day-to-day life issues. What we need to start thinking is beyond this. These festivals, ultimately, all of them, obviously, initially, it is to create that interest. Okay, so Ganesha worship in that form, the Paramatma, you worship Ganesha or Krishna or another form you worship, and then that gradually leads us to next levels. As the more and more one gets involved in this, it becomes more and more clear. So that's why it is important for us. Now, why we have so many, again, different ways of telling this? The Brahman, I think previously we looked at as well in Navratri stories, right? So Brahman is only one. All this is his Maya, this world, this creation, many forms and so on. So if we know the truth, then explaining everything becomes easy. And the celebrations, everything becomes easy. Similarly, coming to Deepavali as well, the festival, knowing how to celebrate will help in aligning with what Shastras say. And again, in that direction, helping to understand why, what, how, or when of this Deepavali and these 3 days sessions, we are going to look at that. Again, objective is to cover some of the key events one should observe and how it should be observed, the reasons for that, and the benefits. Again, benefits is something for us is very important, right? Every shloka or stotra or whatever it is, at the end of that, if it doesn't say you are going to attain wealth or happiness or whatever, if it doesn't have that stotra probably normally it doesn't become much famous. If the stotra has last two shlokas dedicated to the benefits, suddenly our minds get attracted to that. So here as well, we look at what are the benefits of some of these rituals we have as part of Deepavali festival. And before we start, just again, just some admin things. So everybody can listen to this, no issues. Again, but as we said in the Navaratri Vrata series, make sure that you follow the same procedures as listening to Shastras, purity, cleanliness, seating, and all those kind of things. And I think some of you have asked for details of the mantras to be recited during some of these rituals. During this pravachana 3 days, I'll try to cover some of those. But then again, it is important that mantras need to be learned through proper methods, and one must not chant them as and when they please, or if just get hold of the mantra, can do that. It's again follow your varnashrama dharma and follow the right process for that, and we can look at that separately another time if we need to. What is the rules and process and things started separately, but not the focus for today. My message is again, just because something is said here doesn't mean immediately one can do it. Okay, so you need to think whether I can do it, then you can do it if you can, and if you are learned it properly or correct in the correct processes. The focus again here is to explain which rituals to be observed, the merits, and so on. Again, you can learn the details, further details if needed, of, for example, a puja that need to be done or a tarpana that need to be done. It might be, we might say a tarpana, perform tarpana. Okay, how to perform tarpana? I'm not going to go into details because that's a separate thing one needs to learn from the gurus. So, and some of those things, again, it is not appropriate to just explain in a public forum like this. So this provision, again, in terms of the source of the content I'm going to explain, it is mainly based on what's said in the Padma Purana and Skanda Puranas. Both broadly say the same thing. Okay, there is almost like for like you can compare, and there is exactly the same thing on the Deepavali festival and the celebrations, rituals, and everything both say the same thing. But in addition, so I will also pick some content from Mahabharata, Srimad Bhagavatam, Devi Bhagavata Purana, and so on, some other places as well. But mainly, it will be based on the Padma Purana and Skanda Puranas. So with that, let's look at what Dīpāvalī means. What does Dīpāvalī mean? So Dīpāvalī, if there is two words, Deepa and then Avali. So Deepa means lamp. Again I said, not the candle we traditionally see, it's the Deepa, okay, that runs, that's burned using oil or ghee or something like that. Okay, and then Avali means row, line, or a series. So Dīpāvalī means it's a row of deepas or a series of deepas or a line of deepas. That's the Dīpāvalī. Okay, so Dīpāvalī simple means it is a row of deepas or a line of deepas, series of deepas, lamps. What does Diwali mean? These days everybody is happy Diwali. So messages starts coming today, tomorrow, soon. Happy Diwali. What does Diwali mean? Diwali means nothing. Okay, nothing else. I mean, nothing means there is no meaning to it. Okay, so I couldn't find any meaningful explanation for the word Diwali. And I think Dīpāvalī becomes short formed and some letters removed and become Diwali. So if we have to wish somebody Dīpāvalī, this festival, it's better to use the word Dīpāvalī rather than Diwali. And Dīpāvalī festival normally is 3 days festival, but there are before and after part of celebration as well, which is known as Upangas. So overall, we'll look at a 6-day event here for Dīpāvalī. 2 days before, 1 day after, and 3 days in between, which is the Dīpāvalī festival itself. So total 6 days event, and we will look at that here broadly. So it starts, again, use the Amanta Panchanga. So that means the Panchanga where the calendar month ends in Amavasya day. Okay. And the new month starts on Shukla Paksha, that is when the moon is increasing, digits are increasing. So Shukla Paksha it starts. So that means currently we are in Ashvija Masa, Krishna Paksha. In northern India, in some places they use Purnamanta Panchangas where the month ends at the Purnami. So for them it is already Kartika Krishna Paksha currently. Okay, so I'm using Amanta Panchanga here. So that means now we are in Ashvija Krishna Paksha till Amavasya, and then Kartika Masa starts. So Ashvija Krishna Paksha, Dvadashi day, we have Vatsa Dvadashi is known as, and then Trayodashi day, it is Yama Deepa, and then Chaturdashi to Chaturdashi, Amavasya, and the Pratipad, first day of Kartika Masa. These 3 days are known as Dīpāvalī. Chaturdashi, Amavasya day, and Pratipad of Kartika are known as Dīpāvalī day. And then there are a lot of things happen in Dīpāvalī day. We will come to that one by one little bit later, tomorrow probably, or day after. And then the last day, on the Dvitiya, second day of Kartika Masa Shukla Paksha, we have Yama Dvitiya. So these are the broadly 6-day events. Again, Dīpāvalī on its own is a 3-day, but there are Upangas or sub-auxiliary festival celebrations that go with Dīpāvalī. So with that, we will start looking at one by one, and we'll go through some details of each of them. And I'll give few minutes towards the end of this. So if any questions on today's thing, we can look at that. The first one we'll look is Vatsa Dvadashi. So this again comes to Brahma narrating about Kartika Masa Mahatmya. He was explaining the greatness, significance of Kartika Masa to Narada, and while he was narrating, He was narrating these upangas or subsidiary ancillary rites, rituals. He was narrating that, and he was narrating as it was told by Valakilya Munis. So Valakilya Munis were explaining this, and they say that Krishna provacha dharmaya dvadashim vatsa sanjitam goduli kala samyuktam dvadashi vatsa pujane. So Valakilya Munis says that previously Sri Krishna described this to Dharma. Dharma here referring to Yudhishthira, Dharma's son. So Krishna described this to Dharma, Yudhishthira, the auspicious day named Vatsa Dvadashi. Vatsa Sanjitam. So he explained this day named Vatsa Dvadashi. That is on the 12th day in conjunction with Goduli Kala, time of sunset, in worshipping the calf, Vatsa Pujane. So it says that Goduli Kala Samyukta Dvadashi Vatsa Pujane. So in that Goduli Kala, so Goduli means go means cow, dhuli means dust. So Goduli Kala means when the cows return home. Okay, go back to, you probably go in villages, you probably see these days, but probably even that very rare, because this is traditional native cows. When they went out for grazing during the day, evening time they return home, right? So these days all modern day hybrid cows, they are bred and fed and everything indoor, tied up into a hole, right? So they are living in the same place, 6x6 room. They were living like that. So they were in a shed. But go back to a few years ago, the cows used to come home in the evening, and when they come home, through their hooves, the dust picks up, right? So when they are coming in large number, that dhuli, okay, that dust coming up is Goduli. That time when they return home, which is just before sunset, normally they return, right? So when they are returning home, that Goduli is time is known as Goduli Kala. So again, taking bath or the body covering in that Goduli itself is equal to, Shastra say that it is equal to taking bath in Ganga for 100 years. Okay, it is such a sacred thing, that Goduli Snana. Anyway, so that's a separate topic. So in this Goduli Kala, one should worship a calf. So the cow, one should worship Vatsa Pujane. So Vatsa is calf. So Vatsa Puja Vati Chaiva Kartavya Pratame Hani Sabatsam Tulyavarnam Cha Shilinim Gam Vaiswanim Chandanabhi Ralipya Pushpamalabi Rarchayet. So on that day, worship of Vatsa, that is the calf, is to be performed under the shade of a banyan tree. Vate Chaiva. So Vatsa Puja Vate Chaiva. So then under that banyan tree, one should worship the cow. One should apply sandal paste and so on to a domesticated milked cow with its calf of the same color. And then one should worship them with flower and garlands and so on. And Krishna also tells Yudhishthira that Taddine Tailapakvam cha Stalipakvam Yudhishthira Gokshiram Gogrutam Cheva Dadikshiram cha Varjayet Dinante Suribimbardat Ubayatra Gati Dalam Tato Nirajanam Karyam Nirikshecha Shubhashubham. So on that day, Yudhishthira, the devotee should abstain from foodstuffs deep fried in oil and cooked in pots, cow's milk and cow's ghee, as well as mixture of curd and milk. So Gokshiram, Gogrutam Chaiva Dadikshiram cha Varjayet. So these things one should avoid on that day, on that Vatsa Dvadashi day. One should abstain from taking these foods. So deep fried, oil fried, cooked, the stali pakkum, the ones that's prepared in a pot, the cow's milk, ghee, curd, milk, all these things, one should abstain. And then, so one should perform the cow puja on this day. That cow should be a milch cow with its calf of same color. He should worship them with sandal paste, flower garlands, and things like that. One should worship. And then on that day, he should abstain from the milk, curd, ghee, and such things. He should abstain from that. And at sunset, Dinante Surya Bimbarda. So Surya's bimbas, when the sun is half visible at sunset time, okay? At that time, either at 1 Gatika, about 24 minutes before, or 1 Gatika after that disk is half visible, at that time, a nirajana should be performed. Okay, nirajanam karyam, tato nirajanam karyam, nirikshecha shubhashubham. So one should perform nirajana. Nirajana is arti. One should perform arti and nirikshecha shubhashubham. One should expecting shubha and ashubha. One's auspicious and inauspicious things, omens, one should observe. Those omens one should observe. So at that sunset time, one should perform at an outset. Many deepas were lit at that time. The lamps, deepas were lit, and they are placed in a golden vessel and so on. And then the rite of this ritual of arati should be performed, and the omens should be observed. One should take all the deepas and place them facing north in that day. And then the reason for lighting up the deepa is we will come to that in a little bit later. But lighting of deepas is very important on that day. And then he should also have others also do those deepa lamp lighting. If the flame is brilliant with sparks and it shoots up towards south, because you're facing this lamp towards facing north, okay? But if the flame comes with sparks and it shoots towards south, then it is misery. If the flame is steady, it indicates happiness. So like this, one should observe the omens on that day through that deepa in the evening. So again, it is said that men should perform this arati nirajana in the early part of that evening and the early part of that night, and beginning from this Dvadashi day, one should observe this. He should perform with 5 deepas. 5 deepas one should perform this nirajana. The first of that deepa indicates the paksha, fortnight. The second one indicates the masa, month. The third one indicates the ritu. Fourth indicates the ayana, so Uttarayana and Dakshinayana, the 6 months cycle. This is how the sun moves north and southern directions. And the fifth one indicates the year. So that's like that. Deepa indicates the auspicious and inauspicious things throughout this time. Pakshancha suchayatyadhir dvitiyo masamevacha tritiya ritumevacha. So like this, so these deepas, 5 deepas, they indicate these auspicious and inauspicious signs on that Vatsa. And now Valakilya has explained why this deepa should be lit. They say that Suryamsham Sambhava Deepa Andakara Vinashaka Trikale Evam Deepayantu Dishantu Cha Shubhashubham. So deepas, the lamps are born as part of Surya. Suryamsha Sambhava Deepa Andakara Vinashaka. They are dispellers of darkness. And let them illuminate me in the 3 units of the time. Let them indicate the auspicious and otherwise. Like this, one should recite the mantra. Suryamsha Sambhava Deepa Andakara Vinashaka Trikale Mam Deepayantu Dishantu Cha Shubhashubham. Like this, one should chant that mantra. Arati should be performed with the order I'm going to say now. They should perform the orders first to Devatas and then to Brahmanas. then to elephants, horses, the elders, excellent people, that is the respected people, and then the lower people, the other people, let's say lower people instead of other people, and then women, especially among them, women, one should perform mother's arati first. So, like this, the arati should be performed to everybody. And after performing the arati, Deepa should be placed in their respective places. If again flames are rough, there is going to be the omens again. As I said, one should observe the auspicious and inauspicious signs. If the flames are rough, there is likely of loss of wealth. If it is white, there is destruction of shortage of food. If they are dark red, there will be wars. If the flames are black, there is death and so on. There are ill omens that could be seen. Otherwise, if it is bright and steady, then it is good. So like this, the omen should be observed on that day. And Valakilyas also conclude explaining this Vatsa Dvadashi. They say that previously a cowherd is named Ekangi. She performed this vrata previously, this Vatsa Dvadashi vrata, and then observed the Nirajana, Arati, Deepas, and then she observed the auspicious signs on that. And through that, after performing 3 years, she became endowed with wealth and food and grains and things like that. So previously, she was expelled by her father and her priest for allegations of her character. She was able to reunite with her father and got happily married in the due course because of this observance of this Vatsa Dvadashi vratas and rituals for 3 continuous years. She did that. So, like this, Valakilyas explained this Vatsa Dvadashi vrata, and that concludes the rituals on the 12th day. So, effectively, to summarize, on Vatsa Dvadashi, one should worship a cow, milk cow, with its calf, and worshipping that under ideal on a banyan tree. Again, if cow is not available, there are other means as well, okay, which we will see later in Go Puja section. Saligrama and various other things one could worship as well if cow is not available, okay, for the city dwellers who don't have cows in the backyard and the shed. So they can observe various other things. We'll look at that detail again. Go Puja will come later again once more. So we'll look at it in detail that time. So Vatsa Dvadashi, we'll worship cow. We look at the Deepas, performed, Deepas lit up, and then with that mantra, the Deepas lit up, and then the Aarti is performed, starting from Devatas, Brahmanas, and the elders, respected elders, and so on. If Aarti is performed, and then the auspicious, inauspicious signs are observed. So that's the day of Vatsa Dvadashi vrata. Then the second one, in terms of Bangas and the ancillary subsidiary rites, rituals that we perform at the Dīpāvalī festival, is the Yama Deepa. So Yama Deepa is on Trayodashi day. So on the Trayodashi day, devotee again should wake up early morning, take up early morning bath. He should cleanse his teeth and take up bath. With great devotion, he should devotion to Govinda. He should make a resolution of observing these pious rituals for 3 nights, and then Valakilyas here explains that Ashvinasya Site Pakshe Trayodashyam Nishamuke Yamadipam Balim Dadyat Apamrittur Vinashyati. So on this Trayodashi day, in the Krishna Paksha of this Ashvija Masa, devotees should offer Yamadeepa. That means the Deepas facing south direction, okay, Dakshina direction. One should offer this Deepas in the early part of the night. In the evening, one should offer Nishamuke. So that is again just before darkness, one should offer this with oblations. One should Balim Dadya. So one should offer Balis if one does that, premature death can be avoided by doing that. Previously, an infant son of Hemanaka, he became liberated from the calamity of premature death on the Trayodashi day on this Krishna Paksha of Ashvija due to the blessings of Yama. Yama's messengers asked Yama, saying that, take pity on us, tell us the means whereby one will not fall off his life in this type, in this great festival period, in this great Dīpāvalī festival period. How can we prevent death? So like this, Yama's Dutas, they as messengers ask Yama. At that time, Yama replies to them. He explains that मृत्यूनां पाशदण्डाभ्यां कालेन च मया सह त्रयोदश्यां दीपदानात् सूर्यज प्रियताम् इति. So may this son of Surya, that is Yama, be pleased along with Mrityu. Mrityu is again Devata of death. So along with the noose and the rod of Kala, as well as Lakshmi, they all be pleased with the Deepa that has been offered on this Trayodashi day. With this mantra, if after reciting this mantra, Ashwinasyasite pakshe Trayodasyam nishamake Prativarsham tu yo dadyat grihadware sudipakam mantrenanena bho dutaha samanena sa notsave prapte apamrityavapi Shasram Kriyata Mama. So Yama says that after reciting that mantra, a person who offers the deepas, excellent deepas, at the entrance of the house in the early part of the night, on this Trayodashi day of this Krishna Paksha, so Ashvija Masa, every year, O messengers, O Dutas, if a person does that, such a person should not be brought here during this Dīpāvalī festival period. Even in the case of premature death, he should not be brought here. That is my order. Let this my order be carried out. Like this Yama says. So like this, that's why reciting that mantra, one who keeps the lamp at the door of his house such a person should not be worried of premature death during this festival period. Dīpāvalī period. So that is the Trayodashi days Yamadeepa rituals. So Yamadeepa effectively is Yama's blessing to avoid death during this Dīpāvalī period. Okay, so by placing Deepa in the evening time, at the house, front of the house facing south, Yamadeepa, that is facing south, if one keeps the lamp, Yama will be pleased and premature death during this festival can be avoided. So that's the Yamadeepa on the Trayodashi day. Again, these are all both Vatsa Dvadashi and this Trayodashi days Yamadeepa, those both are subsidiary or ancillary rites to Dīpāvalī festival, which starts on the Chaturdashi day. So what is the Dīpāvalī festival? So Ishasita Chaturdashyam Indukshayatita Vapi Darshado Swati Samyukte Tada Dīpāvalir Bhavet Kuryas Samlagnam Etacha Deepotsva Dinatrayam. So that's what Valakilya Maharishi Munis explain. They explain that on the 14th day in the Krishna Paksha of Ashvija, that is Chaturdashi day, Krishna Paksha, Ashvija Krishna Chaturdashi day, and on the Amavasya day, and on the first day of Kartika, which is in conjunction with Swati Nakshatra, one should take these 3 days as the festival of lights. Deepotsava Dinatrayam. So, Kuryat Samlagnam Etacha Deepotsava Dinatrayam. So, Darshado Swati Samyukte Tada Deepavalir Bhavet. So, these days will be known as Deepavali. And they are festival of lights. They are known as Deepotsava Dinatrayam. Deepa Utsava Dinatrayam. Utsava is celebration, festivals, and Deepa's festival, Dinatrayam, is 3 days of Deepa's festival, Dīpāvalī festival. So Dīpāvalī days, as these 3 days are again, are the regime or administration of King Bali on earth. So Bali is going to rule the earth on these 3 days. Vishnu, in the Vamana Avatara, after depriving Bali of his kingdom, he granted these days for the enjoyment of all in Bali's kingdom. So that's why these 3 days are granted. Bali, that great king, was told by Vishnu, who was delighted. Vishnu tells him that welfare to you, choose a boon, whatever may be in your mind, choose a boon. When hearing that, Vishnu, those words of Vishnu, Bali says that what is there to be requested for my own sake? Because everything that's been with me, I have offered that to you. Okay. For the sake of general public, I will, however, request something from you. If you are going to grant me that, that would be great. Today, the earth was gifted to you, who are in the false guise of a Vamana. So that's why Tribhi Padais Tridivasaihi Chakrantya Akranta Yatastvaya Tasmad Bhumitale Rajyamastu Gasra Traye Hare. Like this Bali says. He says that since that has been taken over to you, whatever that I had, all this earth was gifted to you by, you are in the form of Vamana today. So it has been gifted. Since it has been taken over by you by the means of 3 steps in the course of 3 days, let these 3 days be my rule on earth, O Hari. Like this Bali asks Vamana or Vishnu. So he says that Madrajye ye Deepadanam bhuvi kurvanti manavaha tesham grihe tabastriyam sada tishtatu sustira mama rajye grihe Eisha mandakara pratishyati Lakshmi santana andakara sada patatu tadgrihe. So Bali also says that let this lady, Tavastriyam, so your lady, that is your wife Lakshmi, sada tishtatu sustira, stay permanently in the house of those who offer Deepa in my kingdom on the earth. Madrajye ye Deepadanam bhuvi kurvanti manavaha. So the men who offer Deepa in my kingdom, let this your lady, your wife Lakshmi, stay permanently. Sada tishtatu sustira. So sustira again is important. Lakshmi is chanchala, so she does not stay in one place, because there is story why she doesn't stay. She is cursed like that, so she doesn't stay. But here Bali's ask is, let her stay sustira, always sada tishtatu, always stay permanently in that house where deepas are offered, deepas are lit up. Let the continuous darkness of shadow of Lakshmi, so that is Alakshmi, Daridra, fall on the house in my kingdom where there will be darkness due to if one is want of lights. If there is no lights lit up, when there is no deepas lit up in that house, sada andakara, sada patatu. So he says that let there be darkness in that and shadow of Lakshmi, that is Daridra, fall on that house. So I like this Bali request. And then he says that Chaturdashyam cha ye Deepan narakaya dadatim cha tesham pitrgana sarve narake na vasanti cha. So if people offer Deepa to Naraka on the 14th day, all their forefathers shall cease to be in the Naraka, in the hell. Let them be released from the hell. All the forefathers, ancestors, let them be removed from hell. O Keshava, how will this bright illumination of this Deepa in the house of those people whom this row of Deepa, this Dīpāvalī, were not lit after reaching my kingdom? So if people are living in my kingdom, they have to light up this Deepa. So that's why Keshava, let them Those who do not do this, let there be a Lakshmi, let there be Daridra in that house. Bali Rajyetu ye lokah shokan utsaha karanah tesham grihe sada shoka patediti na samshaya. Chaturdashi traye rajyam balerastviti yachayet. So he says that there is no doubt that there shall be perpetual grief in the house of those who do not show enthusiasm and who are always gloomy and dejected in the kingdom of Bali during this Deepavali days. So if one is gloomy, dejected, not enthusiastic during this Deepavali days, let there be perpetual grief in that house. And let the reign of Bali, the administration of Bali be there for 3 days starting from Chaturdashi, like this Bali asked Vamana and that. So previously, in the form of Vamana, Bhagavan requested for this earth and it was handed over to Indra and Vishnu, like this. The 3 days were given to Bali. So that ruler of Daityas, he was then given a resident in Patala. That's why this great festival should be celebrated during these 3 days, Deepavali days, known as Deepavalis. After coming to kingdom of Bali, Yakshas, Gandharvas, Kinnaras, all the vanaspatis, medicinal plants, herbs and everything, the ghosts, mantras, the crystals and all those things, everything become delighted. They all dance in the early part of the night. So if anybody is planning to go for a Diwali party with Bollywood music, this is probably the origin of that Diwali party where it says the dance in the early part of the night. Okay. But definitely the dances are not uh, as it is today. It is anything related to it should be related to the festival. Okay. So there is no, and again, uh, Bali, Valakilyas explains that, Vishnu gives the boon that on those days the mantras recited will be very effective on those days. And because in Bali's kingdom, there is no mantra that goes ineffective. There is no something. And people should be full of delight in these days. So, like this, Hari Vishnu blesses Bali, saying that these, as Bali asks for these 3 days, as you took via three steps in these 3 days, you took everything I had, you took away all those things. Let these 3 days be my rule over the earth. So, like this Bali, who was sent to Patala by Vishnu, he seeks that blessing, and Vishnu blesses that. And that's why, again, we'll come to Bali Puja later, when in this tomorrow or day after tomorrow on that. But that's why we celebrate Deepavali festival. So with that, we will stop today and we will regroup tomorrow. Any questions on what we discussed today?